Hey there, Gregan here, RLCS analyst and former world champion coach, and in this video I'm going to change the way you look at Rocket League forever. Rocket League is a fast-paced, chaotic game where the play is constantly changing, sometimes due to good outplays or challenges, sometimes due to unpredictable interactions. In order to be best prepared for the chaos of Rocket League, you want to improve your option coverage in-game. Option coverage includes several factors that you can improve to cover the most options at any given moment. When breaking down a team, you are looking to take away options and put them in vulnerable positions, whilst maintaining as many options for yourself to retain or regain possession from your opponents. In order to make it easier to understand for you guys, I've split option coverage into 7 areas so you can break them down one by one and improve and focus on them individually. Those 7 areas are boost, how much boost do you have at any moment, momentum, directional motion of your car, positions, where you are in relation to the ball and other players on the pitch, rotations, the speed and effectiveness of your rotation out of the play, mechanics, what mechanics you're capable of in any situation, grounded, are you on the ground, and dodge, do you have access to a dodge? Now these 7 areas are simple to understand individually, but quite hard to put together into one big area of option coverage. In order to help you understand these 7 areas, I'm going to be breaking them down individually with a bit more detail and giving you an example from Queso, who just played fantastically in the first regional and really showed what option coverage can do to your game to improve it. Now this isn't going to teach you how to rotate around teammates or anything special like that, but what it will do is it will put you in the best positions as often as possible so that you can support your teammates in ranked or your team in competitions. So let's get started. First, we're going to look at boost. Boost is probably the easiest of these areas to understand, and that's because everyone knows the more boost you have, the more options you have. You want to be trying to get to as close to 100 as often as possible. Using those small pads all around the pitch, you can top your way up to 60, 70, 80 in the middle of the game, and it can make a massive difference to the options you can cover, not only on the next ball you go for, but the ball after that and the ball after that. It also can help you in your rotations, allow you to rotate out quicker, and of course, boost is used to make you go faster, so it will help you with momentum. Once you start becoming a better player, you'll need boost for lots of aerial plays, which is key to the higher level gameplay, but also start making stronger decisions based off of how much boost you have, like making low decisions when on low boost, or making decisions that allow you to rotate out quicker whilst also using less boost. We're going to be looking at an example of Vatira, and as you can see here, he's currently on 100 boost or so. Just on his rotation out, he's about to pick up 100 here. And now from this point on, this is where we talk about boost management being so key. He's going to make sure he maintains that 100 boost or as close to it as possible for as long as possible. And you see the options he has available to him are way more because he had that 100 boost. So first thing he does, he takes it past Jorias, and now he's able to use that boost to help him recover and land. And as you see, he's still got 20 boost at this point, and if he'd wasted any boost prior, he wouldn't have been able to do this. And obviously he's just picked up a 100 there, so the amount of boost you'd expect to be quite high. But we can look at any moment in the game with Vatira and see here how he's got 100 at this point, and he's maintained 70. He's always looking to path via pads. Keeps that little 20 boost to help him recover a bit quicker, rotating via the pads. As he comes back into the play here, has 100. So yes, you have to use boost as a resource because boost is there to be used, but whenever you can, you want to be topping up your boost to 100, picking up pads where you can. Our second area is momentum. Now momentum can be quite a hard area for you to understand, and that's why it's more for high level players to think about, because it's about the speed and direction of your car. Obviously, your car will be going at a high speed in high level lobbies, be a lot of supersonic movement, but when you can control the direction of it as well, that's when you can start outspeeding people to the ball just purely on your momentum alone. If you find yourself in static positions, especially with your back face towards the ball, it can be quite hard to outspeed people to the ball because they have too much momentum going towards it, and so all they have to do is jump and let their momentum carry them towards the ball. So what you really want to be thinking about is arcing your car around the pitch and looking to move in those smooth motions so that the last moment you can turn in towards the ball and just let your momentum carry you towards it. This can also be really useful in conjunction with boost, because if you have a lot of momentum, you use less boost because boost is there to accelerate you. So if you've got a lot of momentum, you don't need to use any boost to start your movement towards the ball. You can just use the boost then to do the outplay itself. I mean, just think about the amount of times you've flown for a ball, and just because you're static, you can't beat the person who's zooming around the pitch, the ball chasers, right? Now, there's 2 main ways to improve your momentum. One of them being going faster so that you have an advantage through your speed, and the other one to be working on your direction. And now that is important in conjunction with the positioning, which we'll look at. If you want to improve your momentum, sometimes you have to focus on the direction you're facing. facing, and look at players like Monkey Moon, for example, who don't move particularly fast around the pitch, but they face in the correct direction so that when they need to go, they're already facing towards it, so they just boost and go. Now we're going to be looking at an example of Rise this time, and we're going to look at some of the momentum he used as part of his post-rotation cut. So off the kickoff, he's going to cheat up, and you see the momentum he had from his cheat. Again, this is a key little moment in the game, right? Everyone has to cheat at some point in Rocket League. So cheating towards the middle, if you're able to use your momentum well, see how quickly he gets this ball, because he manages momentum in the cheat really well. So he beats Joyous to the ball here and follows through with his momentum. Now you can see at this point he's going at supersonic and he's arcing away from the play, and that allows him to arc back in. And at this moment he can use that power slide and the arcing motion to beat everyone to the ball. Look at Joreuz. Joreuz is facing the wrong way. Like if we just draw on right here, you can see Joreuz is facing this direction. Scrub's facing this direction. Rise is now facing this direction with some forward momentum, so we can come and beat everyone to this ball by quite a significant margin. So if we watch this now, comes in, beats everyone to the ball, barely used any boost to jump up to it, and is looking in a really good spot now. Now, same thing here. Vatira's momentum was going towards where Rise put it, and again, this is where good passing can be really useful to go with momentum, because you put the ball in the path of someone else. And then Joyo, of course, coming in from the back with loads of momentum here, able to beat out any of the defenders. If we look at this from Scrub's point of view, the way these guys passed it around put Scrub in quite a vulnerable position, because he never had momentum in the direction of where the ball was going, and so he kept getting beaten to the ball, and this was all down to the momentum of Queso moving around the pitch, a nice smooth arcing motion. The third area is positioning. Now, positioning is a hard concept to teach, and a lot of it will come down to natural instinct. I'll be doing videos in the future in all of these different areas to help digest them more for you. But positioning is about where you are in relation to the ball, to your teammates, and to the opposition. You want to be thinking about positioning more about the area that you're covering and less about where you are as a person. This kind of comes in line with momentum, right? The direction your car is facing is really important for positioning. You can almost think about your cars as being a cone. If I show you the example I've got right now on screen, you can see right here, we've got Joyo, whose cone is kind of like this, right? And Vatira has just turned around, so his cone is going to be more like this because he's facing back this direction, right? And then you've got Rise here, whose cone, he's currently about to do this shape, right? And after he's moved into that space, his cone's going to be like this. Now, if all of you on the team are covering the same areas with your cone, like we see here with Jorias and Scrub, is as a team, they're covering a lot less area. So you want to be focusing on your whole team covering as much area as possible using these cones. And when you overlap, you really want to be focusing on clearing out as the person who's no longer able to go for the ball. And that's why the rotations are so important, to allow for the person with the best position to go for the ball. So I want to give you a bit of a flavor of positioning before making a full video on it, talking about first, second, and third positions. But the main thing I want you to focus on is a thing called neutral positions. And a neutral position is the place you want to be before you commit to a stronger position, like first, like second, or third. And the example I'm going to be showing you, Rise, is in a very neutral position where you can go in all sorts of different directions. He's got momentum, he's got boost, he can cover lots of different options. And at the moment he gets a read on the play or a teammate clears out for him, he's able to commit to that option and make the most of it. So we'll watch the example now, and you can see to start with, Rise is in the middle of the pitch and he can go in all sorts of different direction if he wanted to. He could even go all the way back. He could cut in here and start aggressively pushing here. Maybe he could turn on the spot and go back in towards their half. So you can see lots of different locations he can go. If we let the video play, you'll see Vatira clears out and makes it very clear where his position is. Joyo is out the play on the opposite side of the pitch. This allows Rise to commit to an option now. And so this position in relation to the ball and his teammates means that he should be going for the ball. Even though it didn't quite work out, because he knows the positions of his teammates, in particular in this case, Vatira is behind him, that he went for that ball and it will go towards one of his teammates or potentially into a less dangerous space. And so it's also important to know what's dangerous and what's not. And in this situation, Vatira is able to play it out. The ball goes to Joyo. And you'll see here in this situation, Joyo clears that ball to Rise. And because Rise is in a really good position in space where he's guaranteed to be the first to it, he takes control of that ball. And you can see Joyo right here is, he's got this area of effect. And then you look at, say, Scrub has got this, Yoros has got this kind of thing. And so for Rise, it's really clear that if he puts the ball somewhere in Joyo's arc here, then it's going to be really clear for Joyo to go for it. And so that's where that pass returns. And again, this is where if you've got comms, you can really utilize your positions and the danger that they present to advantage, and then they score a goal. So positioning is so key to allow you as a team to play around each other, to communicate with each other and everything. But when you're playing with random people, maybe in ranked or whatever, positioning will be your language. It will be the way you communicate where you are. If you're very clear with your positioning, then you'll be an obvious target for a pass or an obvious support teammate for the person who's going for the ball. The fourth area of option coverage is rotations. Now, thankfully for you guys, I've made a whole video on rotations. It was the first video released on this channel. It's all about how to rotate like a pro, where we focus on the rotate out mindset, the primary goal of rotation, and some of the secondary goals you can have when rotating. The whole idea of rotations is to improve the efficiency of your rotation and also to add extra value when you're rotating that allows your teammates to use the space that's created in front of them. So you'll improve the option coverage for your teammates potentially by having some of those secondary goals in your rotations. But anyway, check out that video after you've seen this one to give you a little bit more flavor on how rotations can improve your option coverage. The fifth area of option coverage is mechanics. Now, this is the biggest area of option coverage to talk about. There are so many ways we could go about this. I could make several videos on this for you. But at the end of the day, the more mechanics you have available in your toolbox, the more options you have. We all know and think of amazing players at the top of Rocket League, like your AJs, your First Killers, Astral, these very mechanical players who might not necessarily rotate super well, might not rotate the strongest, but because of their mechanics, they find themselves in advantageous positions using their mechanics alone. So if your mechanics are better than everyone in the lobby, you'll probably have more option coverage than anyone. But what I really want you to think about is more like how players like Jorias play. He improves his option coverage through all the other areas we've spoken about. And then when he finds himself in those advantageous positions, he uses his mechanics to outplay the people in front of him. He has 100 boost, he has momentum, he is in a good position, and then he can use those mechanics to outplay rather than to recover not being in strong positions or having low boost when going for stuff that he wants to go for. So mechanics get better the better your option coverage is, but you can also use mechanics to get yourself out of sticky situations. Now, as we mentioned, Rocket League is a chaotic game. The ball is constantly moving and it's very hard to predict what's going to happen in the next few seconds. So if you make a misread, sometimes what you'll need is mechanics to get you out of that situation. We'll look at two different mechanical areas for the last two in Grounded and Dodge, which are a little bit more specific to certain mechanics and why they're useful. But what I really want you to think about is if I was in a situation where I had an advantageous position with momentum, with boost, in a good position, what different options could I use in that situation? And the more of those you have, the more dangerous you are to the opponent, and the more you can rely on a different mechanic based off of what they're doing. If one of them charges you down early, maybe you can pop the ball up higher. If they jump early, maybe you can do something like a grounded play, like a fake or a flick, and take them out of the game that way. So the more options you have, the more you can react to what your opponents do, and the faster you can do it. In this example, we're going to be looking at Vatira as he's just about to score a goal. And look at the situation he finds himself in and the amount of options he has based off of the fact we know he's incredibly mechanical. So you see here, the ball goes middle. Now, firstly, we can appreciate that Rise is going for a bump, which opens up more options. We said about the rotations and how effective they can be to open up more options for your teammate. And in this situation right here, Vatira has only 50 boost, so the options are slightly limited by that, but I'm sure all of you could get your imagination going and really think about the different things Vatira could do in this situation. He could look to boon the ball off of a corner and read it. He could go backboard. He could pop the ball up, do a musty flick. He could pop the ball up, do a breezy flick. He could pop the ball up and do a dodge, and that's what he goes for in the end. So you see it here, he pops it up, air rolls around the ball and sends it towards the corner. And as you notice, because he's so strong with his mechanics, he did that reactively based off of the demo that had happened in front of him. So watch it just one more time. So at this moment here, there is so many things he could do, and a lot of them will change based off of the play that happens in the next second or so. Like I said, Rise is going for that bump. If he doesn't bump apparently Jack, maybe Material would choose a different option. He goes for that first pop. Using the air roll mechanic, is able to turn his car around the ball in a way that's hard to predict for Scrub, and uses his dodge to send that into the corner with strong placement. Now, what I want you to think about when watching your own replays is what could I have done differently in this situation when you watch yourself mess up on goal scoring situations, or not quite get something that was dangerous enough to make your opposition not save it. And that's where you're going to start finding those new mechanics that you can start practicing in free play, in custom training, and find new tools for your toolbox that you can use against your opponents. The last two areas of option coverage kind of come hand in hand, and that's being grounded and having your dodge available. The reason why they come hand in hand is because your dodge is related to when you jump from the ground. You have about 1.25 seconds from the moment your car finishes the first jump to have your dodge. So it's important to stay grounded so you can keep your dodge as late as possible. But of course, we all know about falling off of surfaces to be able to use your dodge. But let's start off with being grounded and why it's so important. When you're on the ground, you're able to move in all sorts of different directions, and it's a lot easier to change your decision when you're on the ground. The moment you leave the ground, you're telegraphing to your opponent that you've committed to an option. And so your opponent's going to start reading as if you're hitting the ball or try and beat you to the ball. So if you stay grounded till the last moment, it's harder to read what option you're going to go for, because you can change direction, you can move left and right, you can jump above or below the ball, and you'll also have your dodge to be able to hit that ball in a different way. The longer you make your opponent wait before you choose your option, the harder it is for them to defend. And also, the more efficient your movement will be around the pitch, because if you're flying, you have to use boost to keep moving. Whereas when you're on the ground, you can use your momentum and throttle to keep yourself moving around the pitch. So I'm going to show you this example right here, and also watch out for the dodge in it, and I'll explain afterwards why dodges are so important. But you see here throughout this whole play, Queso jump at the very last moment before committing to the ball, where Dignitas jump a little bit too early, and it means that Queso can read them. So we'll start off here with Vatira, who's moving along to the right side. And you see how he jumped just at the last moment. So that meant Scrub Killer had to commit all the way forward and had to try and read where this touch was going to go. And in the end, isn't able to fly up to that ball as he was hoping to. And you see how that was what Jack had to read. So Jack started reading this. But then because that ball hit the ceiling, Jack wasn't quite ready to read it. And Vatira followed it up and had another grounded dodge, which threw off Joria's and Jack a little bit here. So they had to react to what was happening there. Because Vatira stayed grounded here, he had the ability to not go, which is just as important as going, because in this situation, he can make the decision, actually, it's not worth going, and I'll just keep rotating out, and it makes your recovery a lot quicker. You see here how he clears out, and we watch the same thing again from Rise. Rise waits to the very last moment to jump for this ball. So the ball comes towards him, last moment, jumps for it, which means it's harder for Jorias to read. You see how Jorias was waiting in anticipation for Rise to go for the ball, and just that delay meant it was harder for Jorias to read, which meant he wasn't as sure about it. You see how he jumped off the wall a bit early there? That meant Jack could play it around him. But in this situation, Jorias is off the wall early, and Joyo jumps up after, I think, Jack as well. If we watch this here, I think him and Jack jumped at about the same time, but because of the fact Jorias was in the air and Joyo was able to use his double jump to beat them to the ball, he could take the ball off of both of them there. And that's, again, when you want to use your double jump, should be to try and beat people to the ball rather than try and get up faster. Normally you can just single jump and dodge quicker than most people. It's only in situations where you want to be going quite high and fast to the ball. We see again, Vatira stays nice and grounded here as he catches this ball. We can see good boost management, by the way. Keeps himself as high on the boost as possible. Stays nice and grounded here. And at this last moment here, decides to take it high. And you can see how Scrub and Jorias both jump at the exact same time. And because he was grounded, it meant the opponents built up. They didn't know which of them had to go at any moment because he never really gave them an opportunity to come in on the ball. And so he beats them both at the same time here. And even down to the Joyo shot at the end here, he jumps really late on this shot. No need to jump any earlier and sends it bottom corner. So in all of those interactions with the ball where they beat Dignitas to the ball, they stayed as grounded as possible to the last moment. And in some cases, they even didn't go because of the fact they were grounded. So it allowed them to rotate away quicker. As you saw in that example, the dodge was key to changing the trajectory of that ball, speeding it up, slowing it down, making the angle of the ball completely different to what the player was expecting to read. So using that dodge at the last moment will catch people off guard, and that's where you can really beat players to the ball and unexpectedly change the trajectory of the ball. And that's where the chaos starts coming in. And this is what we're talking about, option coverage. If you can use that dodge to break someone else's option coverage, you'll put them in really vulnerable positions. Once you start getting to a higher level in Rocket League, you can start having an infinite dodge. So of course, the 1.25 seconds after your first dodge is important to be able to use effectively, because that way you can outplay people and even hold it to the last possible second and outplay them unexpectedly. But once you start getting better, you can start going for things like flip resets, go off the ceiling, and maybe even soon the licks jump, which will allow you to fall off of the wall and have an infinite dodge in the air. And all of these things give you an advantage and give you more options when in the air. In summary, I've spoken about 7 areas of option coverage that will help you improve. Now, I haven't gone into full detail on all of these. I hope to make videos on each of these areas, and on some of them, like mechanics, multiple videos to teach you all special ways in which you can outplay people and improve your option coverage. But for now, hopefully this will help you to understand Rocket League in a different way and completely change the way you look at the game. When you're analyzing your own gameplay, maybe now you can look at the 7 areas of option coverage coverage, focus on one and look to improve just that area alone. It'll make it a little bit easier for you to focus on option coverage and maintain a simple goal for you to keep working at over a period of time. You've got to remember, Rocket League is too chaotic to predict what's going to happen in the future, so no rigid structure will work in Rocket League. I hope this video was useful for you. Hopefully you learned something from it. Like I said, more videos in the future to break these areas down individually. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like it and maybe leave a comment asking a question, and it will really give me an idea of what to talk about in future videos for you. My name is Gregan. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Bye-bye.